Probably should have bounced there after they get it. Yeah, well, yeah. They still have to pay and they want to do it right.
Yeah.
I'll make that a motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, now we're.
Hawk,
Here.
Eddie,
Here.
Schneider,
Here.
Stevens. Here. Scott,
Here.
Suter,
Here.
Garrett. Here. 7 Aldermen present, 0 absent.
Welcome back, Alderman Hawk and Alderman Suter. We will begin with consent agenda items, approval of minutes of previous meetings, payroll and disbursements.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Second.
Any questions?
What's the investment?
What's the investment?
Oh, that's right.
You want to explain that, Tommy?
That is the money from the school district, and we're looking into investing it. We aren't a little off it until we do the finish of buying the wall.
Yeah.
How far are we from that? Just curious.
30 to 60 days. It's a liquid account. Okay. Got first and second? Okay, roll call vote.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yeah.
Stevens. Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett. Yes. 7 A's, 0 nays.
Okay, we will go on to project updates, Penn and Associates, anything?
Thank you. It's been a while, and with some new folks up here, we want to get over here and just give a quick update on a few of the things that we've got going with the city. So right now, the wastewater treatment plant, that project's been bid and awarded, and Drummill Construction plans to be here within the next couple weeks to start putting up the fencing on that project. And then from there, they'll move into some of the process equipment, piping, and everything else, so that one's getting pretty close. 6th Street resurfacing project, that is going to be on the IDOT letting on June 13th of this summer, so we're getting close on that one. And then just waiting until July to hear back as to whether or not the city will be funded through EPA SRF on a lead service line replacement. And that's really all I have, unless anybody had any questions on any of those projects. All right.
As usual, no questions.
Thank you.
All right, Zach.
Just a few quick updates for the projects with the city. So first off is the CDS grant. So in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, we'll have an action item for proceeding with the CDS grant agreement using city funds until the IEPA funding is secured. So that's typically toward the end of the summer. We'll have that on the agenda in 2 weeks. So that original application had that money coming from the city anyhow. So it's just kind of a revolving door. We're just gonna put money back once we get the IEPA funds. Safe routes to school. So the school does have that easement. Steve, have you seen anything back on that yet? I don't think I've seen it. They did say that.
It's on
It is on the agenda. Okay. OSLAD, so that was not funded. IDNR ran out of money, so they did give us some ways to improve the scoring. And for the 7th Ed grant, the DCO public infrastructure funding for water main replacement. So the DCO has changed that funding, where the money's coming from. So we are gonna have to update the grant agreement via them. We are still waiting on that. And for the IUPA funding, all paperwork was submitted prior to the March 31st deadline, 2025. ITEP announcements. I know I keep telling you this every month. We were supposed to have the awards earlier this year. They're telling us now, the end of this month or June. And RDMS for the downtown water main improvements. This has been funded and we are waiting on DCO. And lastly is the next phase for the DCO public infrastructure grants. They'll be due in December of this year. We are completing a set of plans for an IEPA permit. Now that's a requirement, and we will get that sent to the EPA in the coming weeks. So those typically take 60 to 90 days, so we can get an EPA permit before applications are due in December. So, any questions?
I got a question. You were saying that was it IEPA on 6th Street? Or which area?
So that funding is for the 6th Street, the transmission main project, and for the engineering costs on the DCO public infrastructure grant.
Now, you were saying that we was gonna have to pay before we receive funds. What do you mean?
So what we're proposing is, so the CDS, they want us to move forward with the project. So the IEPA funding for the additional leverage is not secured yet. What we're proposing is using city funds until that's secured, and it will just be a reimbursement of city funds. No additional
What
cost.
kind of money are we talking about? Because we ran into that here a few years ago, where we were paying and we were supposed to be getting reimbursed, and we didn't get reimbursed, and
So that
it
amount
finally
was,
hit the fan, and they started taking care of it.
yep, that amount was 880,000, or 879, 700. Yes, sir.
So we don't be able to pay out like that, like was done before?
Where's it coming out of, I'm sorry, which funds are coming out of?
When we originally talked about applying for the CDS grant, the match portion, we had already worked out with Brian that was gonna come out of his water fund, his water improvement fund. And then it was later on that it was introduced to us that we could apply for the IUPA funding to cover that match portion instead of using our water fund. So initially, the IUPA funding wasn't even introduced to us and we were just gonna pay for it out of the water improvement fund. So that was the initial plan. I do know that.
And a large portion of that's already been paid out.
Right.
For
I just
design.
want to see if you got an eyeball on this project, because I know another project, we were supposed to be getting money back. That was when I first came back in 9th Street, we were like 4 payments back on getting money from the company. They weren't turning in the paperwork to us, and we weren't getting money. And I had to call 4 people before I finally got a hold of somebody who could do something, and he got our money in like a week.
What
And I
project
don't-
was that?
Huh?
What project was that?
That 9th Street project.
It wasn't any of these guys, it was Farnsworth.
No, it was, but we were supposed to be, we were spending our money and we never got any money back. And it got worse and worse, and that's when I called, and it took a while, and we got our money within a week. But I just wanna make sure we don't wind up like that again.
Well, and keep in mind that the city had already planned to allocate the funds for the project. The IEPA funding is a good route for a low-interest loan, per se. I mean, it's at 1% up to like 1.87%. So it was a good deal for the city to do that, because then you can just reimburse what you've spent.
Okay, I just don't wanna get in bad shape.
Yeah.
Do we have that in the water fund?
Not in the water, but in the capital improvement, yes. Not in the water, but in the capital improvement, yes.
We just start taking money from here to pay that, and that's what I'm worried about.
No action item. It's
That's
just
all we have.
discussion.
Okay.
Yes, yes, just, yes. Yeah.
Anything else for Seth?
Any other questions, concerns?
All right.
Thanks for your time.
We'll go on to Steve, who's got a few items.
All right, first item is a first presentation of an ordinance modifying the city code in relation to the sale and distribution of tobacco products. The code needed to be updated to the 21-year age, minimum age to purchase tobacco. And while we're in the process, I also added some language about other types of tobacco products like tobacco vaping. I think the chief has reviewed it as well. This is just first reading.
Make a motion at first reading.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens. Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett.
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The next item I recommend be tabled until the next meeting. This is an ordinance establishing compensation for the city treasurer.
Make a motion to pass that.
Table to the next
Table,
meeting.
yes.
Table to the next meeting. We're in discussions.
Okay. Make a motion to table.
Second.
Questions? Okay, roll call.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens. Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett. Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
The next item is second reading of an ordinance changing the meeting time to 6 PM.
Make a motion to pass that ordinance.
Beforehand, Gary would like to make a comment from the gallery. Gary, you want to stand up?
Thank you for the opportunity to comment. For the record, I'm Gary Henigman. I live at 32 Lane. I just have a feeling 6 o'clock isn't a really great idea. That's most people's families' dinner time, thereabouts. And I know that it might be a benefit to some here on the council, but I mean, after all, you are public servants, and I kind of think this will generally be doing a disservice to the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Have a first. No one else wants to move the meeting time to a sooner time. Everybody wants to keep it 7.
Well, I've had complaints both ways, so that's the reason it don't bother me, but somebody that wants to come up, they get off work at 5, they have to drive all the way from Decatur. They said it's 6 o'clock rushes.
Do they come to the meeting all the time?
No, they don't, they said if they did. Most generally, the people are getting a hold of your alderman, but that's what I'm finding out. So, we have a few that wanna come. You got a couple of them that they got off at 5 o'clock from work. So, I mean, it's a double sword.
I've had people against it.
Okay. Nobody wants to make a second?
I'm also concerned because some people have dietary restrictions and, changing the time for the dietary restrictions would be, kind of difficult.
Okay, all right, well, if nobody makes a second, then the motion dies. No second? Move on to the next item.
All right. the next item is, second presentation of, ordinance, dealing with docks at Lake Pana. This was requested by the ordinance officer.
Make a motion to pass that ordinance.
Second.
Questions on the docks? Roll call vote.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yeah.
7A, 0 nays, that's ordinance number 2017.
The next item is second presentation of an ordinance rezoning property at 312 West Second Street to C1.
Make a motion to pass that ordinance, and I will make a comment about this. There's around town, a lot of areas have never been, business, they were never changed from R1 to C1 or where they are. And we hired that firm 1 year ago, and they're looking at areas and we are correcting them. They go to the Planning and Zoning Commission, they review it, and that's how these are being brought up. We're just fixing the zoning in the areas that's not done correctly.
So these are residential areas,
Yeah, there are one, they should be,
but,
C1.
so we're gonna make the house, the residential's C1s.
Well, these locations are, like this one here,
That's a house on it, right?
there's nothing there now.
There was a house on
Yeah, there's a house on it, but it's along the highway. We even had, the Dairy Queen was still R1. And there's other areas that we're trying to fix them, where there'll be, instead of R1, there'll be C1 for commercial along the highways.
it. So all the highways, everybody lives on the highway, they C1.
Well, they bring them up one at a time.
It
It's just
doesn't mean
basically
they
the
can't be
business.
an R1, but
Yeah.
there can also be a C2 or a C1 there as well, if somebody wanted to turn a place into a business.
Greg?
Can Steve talk about what zoning is? I cannot imagine that it's a thing you do one property at a time. Don't you call out a piece of town where you would like to see commercial, and over here I'd like to see industrial? And then if any change happens, it's gotta be commercial. Is that, am I thinking about this wrong?
There are two tools that municipalities use for zoning. One is the comprehensive plan, and that will set kind of general guidelines. We want highway areas to be commercial up to a certain point, and then they can be residential. It's kind of painting in a broad brush. And Pana hasn't had a comprehensive plan done for a long time.
Like in the 60s?
Yeah. So what you're left with is your second tool, which is the zoning ordinance, which is applied lot by lot, as Mr. Scott indicates. And certain areas of town are zoned residential, certain areas are zoned commercial. And because of the passage of time, mistakes that were made, changes in the community, whatever, a variety of reasons, a particular use may no longer be appropriate.
So that's the part that's getting updated.
That's getting updated, and as Mr. Scott says, it's going to the planning commission, and they have some vision in mind as to where commercial should be and where residential should be.
Do they at any point look at the comprehensive plan?
Well, yes, they're guided by the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
Mhm. And, since the comprehensive plan is so old, it would be a good idea to update it. Okay? That takes time, it takes money.
Do you recall the last time it was updated? Just for the record. 1965. So things have changed. Okay.
We have
First. Second. Any more questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
No.
Schneider,
Yeah.
Stevens,
Yes.
6 ayes, 1 nay, that's ordinance number 2018.
item is also a rezoning from R1 to C2, and this is on Illinois Route 16.
I'll make a motion to pass that ordinance.
Second. Any questions on this one? Okay, roll call vote.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yep.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's resolution 2019. Or ordinance 2019, sorry.
The next item also comes from the Planning Commission. We had first reading last meeting, and this is an ordinance amending the zoning code with regard to recreational vehicles and travel trailer parks.
Take motion. Second.
Questions on this one? Okay, roll call.
I do have a question, I just wanna make sure, is this gonna be more seasonal, or is it gonna be year round?
Once a change is made, it is permanent, not seasonal.
And this creates a special use for that zone, it doesn't just automatically allow it.
With certain standards.
All right, roll call vote.
Garrett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yep.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's ordinance number 2020.
The next item is a resolution accepting the sidewalk easement from the Pana School District.
Make a motion to pass that. This falls in line with our state blocks like Seth explained earlier.
Okay, any questions on that? Roll call vote.
Pop,
Yes.
Eddie,
I'm gonna recuse myself.
Schneider,
Yeah.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays, 1 recused, that's resolution number 25-29.
The next item is a resolution approving investment policy internal control policy. We passed the investment policy at a previous meeting, and there were a couple of follow-up items that needed to be done in order to implement that investment policy, and the internal control policy is one of those, and clerk and treasurer have worked together to create the policy.
And what's the, sorry?
They work together to create the policy that you have before you this evening.
It's all three of them to sign it when they do any investments. I requested.
I saw
Yes.
Just like this
it.
shows.
I was.
Motion,
Second.
second. Vote.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, that's resolution 25-30.
And the last item is referring a matter to the planning and zoning, that being the rezoning of property at West Washington Street from R1 to C1.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Schneider,
Yeah.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Pop,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
More?
That's it.
Nothing else.
Great.
All right, Greg?
The only report I have is the Roseland Theater has a roof on it now.
And it looks great. No water's coming in.
I don't know that part, but it's there.
Yes, it is.
Since we're on roofs, is anything being done with this one? Leak on it?
We're contacting Henson Robinson, who installed it,
Right.
and then Ben's probably gonna have Greg, starts with an H. Yeah, have him come over too, because he was in on drawing specs, and then we'll make it right.
Any update on the limestone stuff?
That ends Thursday, We got all the last of the 4 entrances off today, and they're gonna be going after windowsills.
Perfect. Very good. Kirby,
Nothing to report.
nothing, Shannon,
I don't have anything.
nothing, Tanya,
Nothing.
flip the page over. I have 4 items on it. One, I need to hire 3 seasonal laborers for 2025, a Mason England, a Drake Bland, and a Harrison Copper.
Make a motion, the mayor's request be approved.
Second, any questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, great. Second one, I need approval to hire 2 movie theater attendants. These are part-time positions in entry level, Tessa Clements and Sadie Rogers.
Make a motion, the mayor's request be approved.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, roll call.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Okay, great. I need approval to appoint Mark Dressen to the zoning board and planning board for Ward 3 to fill Mr. Suter's seat. He has interest in it and is in Ward 3.
Second.
Questions? Okay, roll call.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
I'm gonna recuse myself.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
6 ayes, 0 nays. Eddie recused.
Okay, the last item, if you recall from last meeting and discussion, we have approval to create a Class A liquor license to issue to Impulse Gaming. The gentleman is here in the audience once again.
Mayor, does this need to be sent to committee?
No.
We're changing from what they asked before.
Yeah. Well, he
So
applied
we're going
for,
from $5,000 down below $1,000.
he applied for a P, and at the last meeting, if you recall, we discussed changing it to an A. Now, if you want it to be a P, or you think it qualifies for that, then you can just simply revote on it again.
Well, today, the city zoning officer, Justin Duder, and I went out there and we took a look at this place. And I know when it first came up, I thought it was just gonna be a small place, didn't really know anything about it. So the day we went out there and one of your partners, Chad, gives a little tour of the place.
Good.
And, you know, it's a lot bigger, a lot more stuff going on in that place than what I originally thought it was. But this license, this Class A1, does not fit this, it's gotta be a Class P. And I think today I told your partner that that's what it should be.
How come?
Because all it is, it's a gaming establishment, when you walk in, you know, it's very impressive, it's big, it's got all kinds of stuff in there, and you walk through a little area, and it's a gaming room, what, maybe 10 feet by 10 feet, 10 by 12 or something.
Yeah, maybe a little bigger.
And it's just a game.
I thought it was supposed to be a retail smoke
It
establishment.
is, it's got all that in the front part. It's,
You can speak, sir.
yeah, I didn't explain it, but we went and looked at
We,
it.
Yeah,
we
I thought
are,
a
we're
parlor
a
was-
full retail vape and glass shop. And we just want to add a little game room inside our retail shop for our customers to play games.
Yes.
We applied for the P without any communication to the council, thinking there was one available, and there wasn't, and then it was denied. As far as the ordinance, the A1, it just specifies that you're selling alcoholic liquor for retail, for consumption on premises. That's all it really says.
Right. Well, but yours is gaming in that area, because, you know, just down the street from there, you got Lucky Jackpot. They're basically doing what you're doing, but in a very, very small, you know, the retail part is very small, and they have a gaming, and it's a gaming parlor.
I do believe they were a gaming parlor, and then they added retail.
Correct.
95% of our space is retail space.
Correct.
And we did purchase the property, you know, we're not leasing it, we're not planning on going anywhere, we want to stay. As far as the classification, that would be for you guys to work out.
Right. As the liquor commissioner, I think it falls under a Class A license, because your primary retail is.
The reason, I'm sorry, to
Go- yes,
the
it's
reason
not-
we applied for the P is because we thought there was one available, and we thought that would be a seamless transaction. So then when we reinvestigated, we thought, well, this license will work too, by your ordinance. Do you
Okay,
got any
I
questions?
thought a parlor was only games.
The parlor is, their primary income is from gambling.
Yes.
Okay, so his is not going to be.
No.
It is a
Alright.
retail space.
Okay, so parlor was not the right one that we wanted.
Yes.
Correct.
So we were correct in that.
Yes.
Okay.
So how can you be sure it's gonna be what he's selling it from a parlor?
Because it's.
From having the machines, which one's bringing in the most?
Oh, it's
Well, retail,
95% our retail is
Retail.
bringing in machines. Before machines.
100%.
The machines are just a little bit that we want to add on for extra revenue because we have the space.
I have a question, do we follow the municipal code in issuing these licenses?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got some questions on that. It says in there, for like section 3-38, persons ineligible. And it says a person who is not a resident of the city except in the case of a railroad or boat license. I'm asking for clarification on why that's in there if we're not following it.
I'm not familiar with that. Generally,
This is, corporate. It's a-
yeah, generally, non-resident can receive a license if they have a resident agent that lives in the city. So I'm not familiar with the section that you're talking about.
It's under section 3-38.
Yeah, I have to look at that.
So should we maybe just send this back to committee for it to be looked into?
I would make a motion, we go to the committee on, let's get our ducks in a row going forward.
That's, I know, the committee.
Then we know.
I have a first and a second to take it to committee. Vote.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays to send it to committee.
Can I ask one thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, I've been getting a lot of feedback and people would like to see the gaming, like cap at how many we've got. And it's like, we give him his, then after his, cause I don't wanna mess this guy up. But can we look into an ordinance or adjusting the ordinance so that we have the gaming we've got, and unless somebody else closes, then we don't have any more?
We don't have licenses for gambling. We only have licenses for.
Okay, I'm asking, is there a way to cap it so we don't continually keep filling the city up with gaming? Because that's been brought to my attention.
You would have to cap the amount of liquor licenses that you have in the city of Pana.
Okay,
So that if anybody wants to open a business in Pana, they cannot serve alcohol, but the others can, which I would think would be unfair to any new business, and it will detour businesses from coming to Pana, because it's like, maybe they don't want to utilize gambling, but they do want to serve alcoholic beverages, then they're now restricted from doing so to try to prevent gambling. In a state in Illinois, it is legal to gamble, and we cannot base our opinion of hate of gambling for denying people the right to earn an income. So just because you don't like gambling is irrelevant. It is legal in the state of Illinois. It should be allowed to any business that opens in town. That is the right. That is the right thing to do. So can you? Yes. Is it right? No. You would have to.
so there's absolutely no way to restrict the gaming
No, I'm
without
telling you.
restricting alcohol?
You have to, alcohol liquor licenses are the way to get the game license.
If they don't have liquor license, they don't get a gaming.
So if you.
Right, I was just talking the gaming is what I'm getting complaints about. That's why I'm asking if there is a way to cap the amount of gaming.
We do not have a gaming license in the municipality.
Can we create one for the city?
As the mayor said, gaming is connected to alcohol, and so you control gaming by controlling alcohol.
So there's no way to like create an ordinance that just controls the.
No, that's regulated by the state. You can license gaming and charge a small annual fee, I think $250 a year.
But we couldn't cap how many of
But you
those
can't.
licenses we give
No.
out.
No, you cannot. The way you do that is through the liquor license.
Yeah, and I don't wanna hurt business, I just,
And I want to be clear that I'm not you know, saying, no, that I want to do this, we have language that we need to clean up in this. And, you know, we all know that we just had Sting, we had 7 to 14 businesses fail. Have we done a background check on any of these people that are on this application at this time?
Yes. We have to have a background check on everything.
Yeah, they already have their gaming license with the state, so there's no issue with that there. This is mostly a formality, which is what I don't understand why the council has such an issue with it. It is a formality. He already had, correct, you have a license with the state of Illinois, right?
For one gaming license in Taylorville, yes.
Okay, so they passed. They are fine to get a gaming license. They are fine to get an alcohol license. They keep jerking it around back and forth to determine which license the guy gets. Is it a parlor? No, clearly it's not. It's a liquor license. It's a Class A liquor license. So going back and forth is fine if you want to do that, but at the end, he has every right to have the license. There's nothing you can do to tell him he can't. You can go back and forth and talk about it and take it to committee and discuss it, but at the end of the day, he has the right to have it, because everybody else has it. So if we vote to take it to committee, fine, but at the end of the day, the right thing to do is to make the license. Now let's go on to reports of committees. Community safety.
Hey, can I say something then?
Yes, you can.
Right here's a guy bringing a business to Pana, and that's what I'm trying to see. That is our goal, to bring a business to Pana. He's fixed that building up, he's bought it, he's here. Hey, I agree. Give him the liquor license, and I'm not like that kind of person, but he's done a hell of a lot of work out there. This is one of the things where we need to come together. We need to do whatever this guy wants to keep this business in Pana. That is our goal. I mean, I come to meetings and I'm getting a lot of things flack from both sides, but I've been here trying to get this young kid trying to get the recreation. I say give this guy the liquor license if everybody else in town's got a gaming and a liquor license. He's done all that work. I've seen pictures. I'm not a vapor, I'm not a smoker, but look at all that work. I mean, we gotta appreciate these people that are coming to business and put money in our town.
I agree.
We totally do. I don't know this guy from Adam, but hey.
Could I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
We invested $250,000 to come to payment by purchasing the property and the inventory of the store. And we cannot move on in this process for gaming until we receive a local liquor license. So we've already lost 2 months, or 6 weeks, not 2 months though. But we
I
haven't
don't
made
think
investment.
anybody's against you.
No.
I think we just want to make sure that our Ts are crossed and our Is are dotted because of the recent sting and things of that nature. So nobody's against.
Stings are all the time. They're
I
always
understand,
testing
but
it. Sometimes you
it's our
pass.
responsibility to make sure we do
Yes.
things legally. It's not against you personally.
All right, thank you.
Also, I wanna say too, just from my standpoint with my position with the city, I would really hate to have the conversation with somebody who's interested in investing money into our downtown or just our town in general by saying, yes, you can come here, but you have to cut that part of your plan out because our council is no longer issuing those licenses to people. It's just, it's not good business. I wouldn't wanna waste a $5 bill in one of those machines personally, like it would bother me if I lost that, but I know that a lot of people, when they are in establishments, whether it's, recreational, dining, just drinking, whatever, people like to go back there and put money in those machines, and if they're not there, sometimes it does deter customers from visiting that establishment. So, again, from my position, my standpoint with the city, I would hate to have somebody come to town, have a very solid business plan with experience and say, yes, you can come here, but that little back part of the architectural renderings that you have, you can't include that because our council won't allow it. Because they think we have too many already.
I think that you don't understand. The people have complained. That's why.
Oh, I think she
Of course they have. I do understand.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not-
if the citizens don't want it, then I'm gonna bring it up.
Then the citizens do not have to go in that part of the establishment.
I understand, but it's my job to ask.
Do you say that response back to them though? Like, yes, you don't have to be okay with that being an establishment. You also don't have to venture back to that area.
But do you recall what you said?
Not always, in case we didn't notice I have a bad memory. But the point is, if people are concerned, we have a right to ask, period.
Yep.
And I ask, it's fine.
Yes.
Great. So moving on to the committees. Community safety. Nothing?
I was just waiting to see if anybody had anything to say.
Thank you for breaking it up.
The motion to reduce speed limit from 30 to 25 on Pine Street from Jackson to Cold Springs Road.
Are you making that as a motion?
Motion.
Second.
All right, any discussion or questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Don't you need an ordinance?
Yeah, you gotta
Are you
go right
recommending that an ordinance be drafted?
Motion, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
My apologies.
All right, so these are ordinance.
Hawk?
Yes.
You can just do a voice vote on these.
All in favor of the first one?
Aye.
Opposed to the first one? Carries. Second.
Motion to recommend for ordinance. Speed limit on from 30 to 20 on Spruce Street, from 6th to 7th, and MacArthur and Patton Street.
Second that.
Second. Okay, questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to, what are we calling it, Steve?
Draft an ordinance.
Draft an ordinance, sorry.
Yeah.
I started with the laugh. Motion to draft ordinance to reduce speed from 30, this says 20, but it's to 25 on Hickory Street from 2nd Street to Cold Springs Road.
Second.
Okay, any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to hire Jill Washburn as a part-time dispatcher.
Second.
Second, any questions on Joe Washburn? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I got, thank you.
Thank you. Community operations.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve oversized lake block request of Mark and Laura Kozinski at 843, double fees applied.
A second.
Any questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Hawk?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Suter?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of a chemical feed pump for the water treatment plant from municipal equipment in the amount of $3,470.
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Okay, roll call vote.
Eddie?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Stevens? Scott?
Yes.
Suter?
Yes.
Garrett?
Yes.
Hawk?
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Good. Administration.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a 3-year bid from Hardy Tree Service for city tree maintenance.
Can we,
Steve, is this close to the last agreement we had with him?
They're almost the same thing,
Isn't it?
Some of them were a little bit lower.
We had, 2 this time, Love Tree Service, they're the ones out of Brownstown. They're the ones that come in town, help us with some big trees. And they're a little more expensive because they gotta come from a long distance. And with this here, Buff and Hardy have got a good working relationship. They work together on a number of trees. We just had one done over there on, it was in your ward by Tom Phillips's house.
it was at Tom Phillips' house.
Yeah, and they, except the one from Hardy.
There has been some, concern that a couple of people that wanted to bid were not aware of it. And possibly we need to try to start putting the bids, possibly put them on social media as well as the newspaper, since a lot of people don't get it.
It goes in the newspaper as required, and
Right,
also,
I
it
told
also
them that. I
goes
told them
into a
that.
database,
Yeah, I
that
didn't
every-
understand that, so I will ask you how to do that later.
I'll make a second on Steve's motion.
Did you have comments?
I was just gonna ask if we could put it on the city's website.
Yeah.
And they can go on there. There were also several local tree people mailed directly.
Okay, first and second. Further questions? Roll call vote.
Schneider?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Suter?
Yes.
Garrett?
No.
Hawk?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
6 ayes, 1 nay.
Community support? Nothing at this time. Economic development?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to set the redevelopment application from Nelson Development Company and instructory to draft a redevelopment agreement.
Second.
What's this?
Want to give a little background on it, Scotty?
You wanna go explain a little bit on
Or
it?
Kirby,
And
yeah, I mean.
I'll go ahead and I'll let,
Whichever.
well, I'll
You
start
guys can do
then.
it together.
Okay, if you wanna explain a little bit, then I'll
Yeah.
talk.
So it's for, 101 and 103 Second Street. Nelson Development Company is, an established development company and business owner in primarily the Greenville area. They have, down in Greenville, they have two, or now three businesses on the square. One is a bookstore and coffee shop. The other one is a plant store and just different like retail like that. They have a print press shop in there as well where they make customized graphic t-shirts and other types of apparel. And then also their newest project that they are working on is the renovation of a historic corner building on the square where they are turning into a pub. So they are coming to Pana. I have worked on this group for almost 2 years now, and they said, you know, timing just had to be right. They like to do one project at a time. They're a very small company. It's a husband and wife. The husband primarily does all the legwork on the actual renovation projects themselves, and the wife comes up with the concept of the business and operates the actual business. So we just had to wait until they wrapped up a couple other things in Greenville. The pub they are also finishing up, so that's why they're planning to get started late fall or early winter. So
Scotty?
With this, here, 2 weeks ago, the city clerk, Kirby, Greg, and I went down there and met these people. We went and looked to see what they were doing. This place is it's gonna be where George's, those two lots there, George's building and the empty spot. Down there, they have a retail business along with a coffee shop inside there. And we went down, looked that business over, the building next to it is run by their daughter. And it's a, what you call it, just a retail shop, and all kinds of novelty stuff in there. And then we went over they were working on a bar and grill, and he's doing the work, and they had people working on the bar and grill, and we checked all this over. We spent quite a bit that day looking this place over, and we sat down and talked with him. Well, Friday he came in and we discussed this redevelopment agreement, and I think it'd be a good thing. It's just the two pieces of property there that's involved in this, and, you know, we need to get something going, because that, a year or so ago, that project fell through with the last people. And after going down in person, seeing this and talking with them, I feel real confident on this one.
also, I feel like too, I should say that they specialize too in their other locations in Greenville, that the upstairs they typically make into either Airbnbs or actual apartments as well. So that will help with various lodging accommodations that the city lacks, so.
So we're talking about giving them this property?
Yes. Give them the property. We still have to do tuck point on the back of it. We've got to get prices on that, and we've got to put a gutter on it. We've got to do that to it. But, you know, have the attorney draw up a redevelopment agreement, and then we can bring it back, then the council can review all of it and vote on it. But they're requesting $150,000, and we set time frame on this. You know, he's wanting to finish the building down in Greenville, and he's gonna have it finished by, they figure, July, August, something.
Yeah, their opening's in July, so they're pretty well locked into that.
So we, as a committee, we discussed that, you know, we would give them a start date, have to start by January the 1st of 26, and it has to be completed by December 31st of 26. We'll give them dates, and then also, he's sending information to Kirby where we'll pay him, it's gonna be divided up in 3 payments, $50,000 when the demolition is all done, and they turn the receipts in and show that's done, we'll pay that part. Then there's gonna be another part that will be finished, and then we'll pay that, and then when the project's completed, we'll give them the remainder of the money. Because we've been bit before on some of these projects, now we're setting dates and how we're paying for it. So that way we'll keep track of it. And then all the redevelopment agreements, if for some reason they fall, there's information on how the payback is and all that.
I also think it's important to note too that partnering with, this group would be very beneficial for the city of Pana, specifically because he has a background in economic development. He recently, retired from Greenville University as our economic development and innovation officer. So he was in charge of a lot of economic development driven projects for Greenville University. So I think it would be a very good partnership for the city of Pana to work with him. I think that we could definitely learn a lot from working with.
So did you make a motion?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Roll call vote.
Stevens,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
No.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yeah.
6 ayes, 1 nay.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the redevelopment application from Hair Raisers, instruct the attorney to draft a redevelopment agreement on that. They're wanting to put a new roof on their building, and we're gonna pay, we figure 50% of the project for a new roof.
Is that standard what we do, is 50% of?
On different things, we do that, mostly we do like anywhere from 35 to 40%, others we've done more on it. But this is for a new roof, and it's only, was it $9,000 that we was gonna,
It's 11.
$11,000 on that.
The total is so small.
And she established place here in Pana, and
Angie has owned and operated out of,
Never asked for anything.
Angie has owned and operated out of that same location for 25 years. She is, a stellar example of what a downtown business owner and property owner is, so.
I'll second it.
Second, roll call.
Scott,
yes.
Suter,
Yes.
Garrett,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Eddie,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays.
Mayor. Just for the new alderman, the process generally is that these developments come through Kirby and come through the committee. And then, as we've just done tonight, the committee will direct me to draft a redevelopment agreement, which includes the terms that people have discussed. That then goes back to the developer. If the developer thinks it looks okay, the developer will sign off on it and provide the city council with plans showing exactly what's going to be done. And then that package comes back to the city council for review and approval. So there's no official approval of anything until that package gets put together and you look at it for your approval.
This is one
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
Thank you. We just started the motions on this, like I said, we went down, looked at it, and then when we came back, I directed Kirby to notify Brand Development and look at what they submitted, what is eligible and what is not eligible, and then they sent the paperwork back to Kirby, and then we had a committee meeting last Friday morning over this, both of these items. So it's gone through the process.
It's a multi-step process. And you have final approval.
Yes. Okay, negotiations, there's nothing to report, new business, nothing to report. So this is an opportunity to address the council, Patty Gates. And a dumpster day. Just a second. Oh, wait, no.
All right, so Melissa Miller, sorry, I'm here for Pana Brand. And we want to request to have dumpster days on May 31st from 7 to 1.
From 8 AM to 1?
Oh, sorry, 8 to 1.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all in favor of dumpster days? Opposed to dumpster days? None. All righty.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there is nothing else, I'll.
You got one guy.
Oh.
I just want to bring something up. And I've
State your
talked,
name, please.
James Gould, I live on, down by Tim.
Make a motion that Mr. Gould.
Second?
Go ahead, sir.
As everybody's seen, people drive around on the golf carts and the quad runners with babies sitting on their lap, using it, somebody's gonna use a baby for an airbag, basically, if they get in a wreck. And, adults letting 5 and 6 year old kids drive golf carts, quad runners around. I see it all the time. I've talked to Adam Laddage, and there ain't much they can do about it, and I've talked to Tim about it. Somebody's gonna get killed, gonna kill a baby on one of them things, and it's all the time. It's starting now, but they need an ordinance or something to stop it.
You guys control that, don't you, Daniel?
So you gotta be 21 to drive those, so if my officer sees those, they address it, so.
Yeah.
I'm getting complaints, but I was not aware of this. I know maybe that's where you got it from, Tim, when you mentioned to me. So I put a note out to the officers to start paying attention to that issue. The seating issue, which the ordinance, as far as I remember, each occupant has to occupy a seat. Now, so the riding in the laps, which I've had that issue down at the park, grandparents holding their kids in the park on the golf carts, where do you draw the line? But technically, they have to occupy a seat. So it doesn't clarify though age, so if they're gonna strap in infant seats in there, car seats, I don't know. But as far as because we're addressing, it happens every summer, the more we see them, you get noise, you get issues, so that was brought to my attention, but, we'll address it.
Yeah,
There's only like 50 permits, if we gotta call everybody to tell them, it's not a big problem.
Yeah.
We'll address it.
But yeah, it just irks me to watch somebody drive along with a baby in diapers. I mean, not even a 1-year-old.
Most of them are on golf carts, which is very slow, but it is unsafe, but there's an approval, but we need to clarify. And we can enforce, they can put a seat in a golf cart, I guess, but yet there's no seat belts required in golf carts.
Yeah.
So you get into a big mess of how do we enforce that? Or we just take it all away.
Gary, you have something?
Oh, it's nothing new, but we see it at the lake a lot. Teenagers driving carts with younger kids in the back.
I think you need to go a step further than these motorized scooters that they ride around. There's a lot of young kids riding now, which is dangerous. I've had to pull out in front of me before in the car.
These are issues I'm aware of.
Some of them don't have to do it all.
Any further comments from the audience? All right, I will entertain a motion to close if we have none. All right. Thanks, everybody.